Hello, everyone, and welcome to week 19 of Spotlight on What's Next 2026. We're talking today about from endurance to expansion, scaling stability into strategic opportunities. Over the past several weeks, we've moved through quite a few different topics relating to trust, traction, transformation, institutionalized progress, systemic advantage, strategic leverage, ensuring momentum is translating into measurable impact, aligning our results, and then ensuring direction can endure under continuous pressure. Today, we are now addressing the next defining leadership question, and that's once stability holds, how do leaders expand intelligently without losing control? Because in 2026, expansion is no longer simply growth. Expansion is strategic multiplication under pressure. And the global leadership reality is that stability is becoming a launch platform. Across government, defense, AI, energy, healthcare, infrastructure, and enterprise systems, organizations are beginning to realize something important. The organizations that survived the volatility of the past several years are now entering a different phase. Not survival, but rather expansion. But expansion in 2026 looks fundamentally different than it did even 5 years ago. Expansion now occurs within environments shaped by AI acceleration, infrastructure constraints, compute competition, workforce evolution, geopolitical fragmentation, supply chain instability, energy dependency, and rising trust expectations. This creates a new leadership challenge. How do organizations scale opportunity without scaling fragility? And the pattern leaders must recognize is that historically, expansion is often associated with more markets, more products, more customers, more hiring, and more operational scale. But many organizations learned a painful lesson. Expansion without structural discipline creates instability. And in today's environment, complexity compounds faster, risks scale faster, reputation exposure accelerates instantly, AI compresses execution cycles, and infrastructure limitations constrain growth. The result, growth without stability now becomes a liability. So our next leadership shift has us looking at how high-performing leaders in 2026 are making a critical transition from scaling activity to scaling strategic positioning. They are asking a different question, not necessarily how fast can we grow, but rather what can we expand that strengthens long-term resilience, influence, and optionality. Because expansion today is no longer about size alone. It is about controlled amplification of advantage. What strategic expansion actually looks like now is not uncontrolled acceleration. It is rather the ability to expand while maintaining clarity, scale without increasing stability, grow influence while protecting trust, extending capability without diluting focus, multiplying outcomes without multiplying complexity. And expansion is where endurance becomes opportunity. So there's 4 expansion moves for week 19. And that is first, to expand what is structurally stable. One of the biggest mistakes organizations can make is scaling unstable systems. So high-performing leaders and organizations are instead scaling proven systems, expanding repeatable models, replicating trusted capabilities, and extending operationally mature functions. Stability should become the launch point for growth. Number 2, scale ecosystems, not just operations. In 2026, advantage increasingly comes from ecosystems, partnerships, alliance, shared platforms, cross-sector integration, academic industry collaboration, AI, and infrastructure coalitions. Organizations that scale ecosystems increase reliance, expand intelligence visibility, accelerate innovation, and reduce isolated risk. So expansion is becoming network driven. Number 3, we need to align expansion to infrastructure reality. AI, compute, energy, and digital infrastructure are becoming limiting factors for scale. Organizations must now ask, can our infrastructure support this expansion? Do we have the workforce capacity? Can our governance scale with growth? Will increased complexity weaken execution? Infrastructure discipline is now strategic discipline. Number 4, protect trust while expanding influence. As organizations grow, visibility increases, scrutiny increases, stakeholder expectations rise. Expansion without trust protection creates reputational fragility, governance breakdowns, cultural erosion, leadership inconsistency. So high-performing leaders are ensuring transparency scales, accountability scales, decision clarity scales, ethical oversight scales, because trust must expand alongside capabilities. So you might be asking why this matters so much now. Well, the 2026 environment is defined by simultaneous acceleration and constraint. AI is expanding capability faster than many governance systems can adapt. Energy and compute are emerging as strategic bottlenecks. Global instability is reshaping supply chains, alliances, and operational assumptions, and workforce expectations continue evolving forward. Purpose, flexibility, inclusion, and meaningful contribution. Organizations that expand intelligently will create durable advantage, increase resilience, attract strong partnerships, retain high-value talent, scale influence sustainably. And organizations that expand recklessly will increase operational fatigue, create hidden instability, dilute strategic direction, and scale complexity faster than capability. The differentiation will not be ambition. The differentiation will be disciplined expansion. So our week 19 reflection is to take a moment this week to consider what areas of your organization are truly stable enough to scale exponentially. Where are you expanding complexity instead of opportunity? What ecosystems might you strengthen instead of building alone? Where could growth unintentionally weaken trust or focus? And is your infrastructure ready for the future you are pursuing? Because these are not simply growth questions, they are strategic expansion signals. So our week 19 action is to choose one area where growth or expansion is currently underway. Then ask of your leaders, is this expansion reinforcing long-term positioning? What infrastructure must strengthen alongside it? What partnerships could amplify impact responsibly? What risks scale with this growth? What must remain protected as you expand? Take one action to ensure growth strengthens resilience instead of weakening it, because sustainable expansion is built through disciplined alignment. So what comes next? In week 20, we're going to move into from expansion to strategic influence, how organizations shape ecosystems, markets, industries, and policy environments, and why influence is becoming the next layer of competitive advantage in the AI era. Our closing thoughts for today are that trust creates confidence, traction creates movement, transformation creates capability, trajectory creates direction, and endurance sustains stability. But expansion, well, that's what determines whether stability becomes opportunity. And in the leadership environment of 2026, the organizations that lead and win will not simply survive disruption, they will expand strategically while others struggle to stabilize. Again, this is Dr. Rhonda Farrell, the CEO of Global Innovation Strategies, bringing you week 19 of Spotlight on What's Next 2026. From endurance to expansion, scaling stability into strategic opportunity.